All right. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hope you made it back okay. We're going to
Dr.
try
King.
this again, but either way, I have printed the slides, so we have a backup.
Dr. King,
Yes.
can you hear me? Melinda messaged and said that she had to leave, and she would message you later about as to why, but she
That's
just
okay.
wanted to let you know.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So we were talking about feedback.
Feedback loops.
All right. So we talked about a couple of Right. So the major family task with their feedback loops is to maintain the balance between steadiness and change. So we want to make sure that it's a stable environment for all of the members, that it's supportive and healthy, but that it's not, and so that there's stability there, but there's also enough room for change, growth, and developmental milestones. And we talked about negative and positive feedback loops. Does everyone kind of understand the difference?
Yes.
One is really just to maintain the status quo. The other is to initiate greater change. All right. So let's talk a little bit about developmental issues that might bring a family into counseling. Major life changes. So families with young children, families with adolescents, single young adults leaving home, all of these different things, as you can see in McGoldrick et al.'s model from 2011. Can you guys think of any other stages that maybe aren't here? I mean, I know we talked about major changes in the family. What about Erikson's stages of development? So, we mentioned before about the family system needing to be structured and stable, but flexible enough to allow for changes. And in a sense, there are changes occurring all the time. This is the individual stages of psychosocial development. So if you're bringing a child into the family, then you're going to experience all of these different tasks, as Erikson discussed. So trust versus mistrust when the child is very young, developing attachments with caregivers, autonomy versus shame and doubt. That happens a little later when the children start going to school. If they're being successful in school, they might experience autonomy or shame and doubt if they're maybe having some academic struggles or some exceptionalities with their learning. Some initiative versus guilt happens a little later in life. Industry versus inferiority is kind of that. Again, working through different accomplishments, social accomplishments, academic accomplishments, and that can happen a little bit later in life when someone's trying to launch themselves into the world. Again, identity versus role confusion. So that can happen when someone's trying to establish their career, develop maybe marriages or long-term relationships. Intimacy versus isolation happens a little later in life, middle age. And then generativity versus stagnation, and integrity versus despair. Those are in the older ages of life. But all of those can impact the family system and can bring families into therapy. So we talked about a variety of families already. The nuclear family, which is our traditional 1940s family, our single parent family, our blended family, dual career family, child-free family, special needs child or children family, the aging family, the multi-generational family, which I saw a lot of in Vietnam, obviously all living in one house, which can create a different set of circumstances, a grandparent-headed family, or a military family. Sarah, are you, there were a couple of you that were involved with, that are in military families, right?
Yes.
So how is the military family different, and why might they need to attend counseling? I know you mentioned PTSD earlier with war-related issues.
Oh, my military family is a blended family with divorce and stepkids and all kinds of good stuff. And he already did 26 years in the military, so we're now retired as of last year.
Okay. Wow. And that's a relatively young age to be retired, so that's a difference as well, right?
Yes, but he's very broken. They broke his back, his legs, his hips, so he is adjusting to a different type of life now.
Wow. That definitely brings with it some different types of struggles.
And a whole need for therapy.
Absolutely. Right. Because with those physical challenges come some emotional challenges.
Yes.
Which I'm imagining impact the entire family system. Meaning you.
Yeah. They impact it just a little bit.
Right. So so there are health issues that can come with military families. Changes in careers, moves.
Reintegration into the civilian population is a huge issue.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Through that feeling of disconnection, not feeling like you're a part of, like you're an other.
Well, your comment earlier about what other kinds of family. You spend 26 years in a uniform going every day to an installation where you are considered a member of a family-like unit and or team, and then all of a sudden one day you don't go there anymore.
So there's the loss from that too. Sense of loss. The belonging that was there. Can anyone think of some issues that might come up for dual career families?
Not being there all the time when your kids need you. So if you have, a small child, or like I do, but I also have teenagers, so, we've got baseball games and things like that, and they want you there for all of it. And they feel like maybe your job or career is a little more important than what they're doing. And so it can cause some upset, especially with the kids, and, feeling, and then the parent feels, like a bad parent and depressed and sad about the whole situation.
So some guilt, maybe resentment on the side of the kids, not
Right.
enough time, the resource being time, not having enough of it. I'm sure managing responsibilities in the home. If partners are working, switching off who's running the kids' soccer or whatever it is.
Yeah, divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is something that I'm dealing with right now as I'm sitting in my work office, 40 minutes from home, because I live 40 minutes away, so I knew I couldn't make it to this meeting, if I drove home on time. So it's new to me because I'm newly working full time. So the kids have an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they're with my husband. So definitely get the dual career family. Like she said, divide and conquer. Like right now he was, able to get them and has them at home. And here I am feeling bad. I'm sitting in my office, but I mean,
it's hard to balance all those roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. So yes, that definitely resonates with me. But Sarah, what you said.
Well, and I know Anita is at home with the baby, so it's a lot of juggling of a variety of things. So
for sure, yeah.
Come up. We'll move on, because I think we can talk about any of these at length. What are some qualities of healthy families? We kind of touched on some of the dysfunction, or at least mentioned that it existed. But what are some of the qualities of healthy families, do you think?
Emotional well-being, good communication, support.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all good.
Willingness to grow and positive change. Tackling problems in a more positive fashion as a unit or team.
Yeah, support, change, healthy change. I'll go over a few of them. Adapting to change, that's the first one. You said it. So setting appropriate boundaries is important for children, but even in romantic relationships, setting boundaries is important. Developing, relationships through open communication, promoting responsibility, particularly in children, but also not taking on responsibilities of others, whether that be a brother or a partner or a sister or a mother. When we start to take on the responsibilities of others, dysfunction starts to occur, because we can all agree that a child does not need to parent a parent. That can cause a lot of problems. So express confidence in themselves and their children. Families are optimistic about the future. They encourage individuals in the system. There are clear roles, but they're flexible roles so that you can divide and conquer, like you all said. So teamwork is a big one. I think this is a really interesting one, not operating from an extreme, either cognitive or emotional. So we are not going to overreact to situations on an emotional level, and we're not going to act like super intellectual computers that just solve, and never address feelings. It's a nice balance between the two. Healthy families have realistic plans. They have a strong marital unit, or they've managed to find a way to peaceably interact in a divorce situation. Unless there are no children, in which case they can run off and start a new family. There's appreciation for each other, a willingness to spend time together, and ability to deal with crises. Some of the major stressors that can affect families, I know we talked about developmental stressors. We talked about major issues that can come up out of nowhere. But we have vertical stressors, so we can bring the past into the present. And this could apply to a situation where maybe someone comes from a dysfunctional home, or bad relationships, or low self-esteem, or they have their own mental illness that maybe they haven't addressed, that they bring into the situation that causes chaos. Which is why it's really important to kind of work through the past issues that people might carry with them in family therapy. Or horizontal. So these are the developmental issues. We talked about, like a teenager leaving home, or struggling with a developmental milestone, or aging parents, caring for aging parents. Those developmental issues, they are present-oriented and possibly predictable. Some of them are expected, like the developmental ones or the situational ones. And some can be unexpected, like a trauma, if a major issue happens in the family, or a success or a failure. Can you guys think of some coping skills of healthy families? All right, I'll kind of go over them. Cohesion, so the ability to pull together when there are issues that emerge in the family system. Good communication, flexibility, focusing on strengths, and affection and commitment to the members of the family. All right, and we talked a little bit about blended families earlier, but we're going to kind of just brush through quickly the single parent families. What are some strengths of single parent families, can you think?
think if when the parents are married or together, if it was toxic, there can be a real strength if the children and the family is with the healthy parent. Especially if there's one parent that's abusive, then children will report feeling relief to be away from the parent that was especially toxic or abusive. So they don't have that conflict or toxicity. Even if one parent's not abusive, if they're always toxic together, then having one parent be steady might be more beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, you're modeling relationships for your children. So if there's a toxic marital bond or partner bond, you're infusing that toxicity into the systems, but you're also teaching them negative communication patterns. So I agree with you that often it can be a lot healthier if it's calm, there's no fighting anymore. So it's a good point. What are some challenges of single parent families?
Financial.
Definitely.
I was a single parent for a number of years, and definitely trying to work and take care of the home and take care of the kids and have, I was in college, and so everything that came with just your daily schedules. But I do think back on strengths, I think that all of those things, you're just a stronger person. Because you don't have a choice. You have to be. Mm-hmm. And so you just develop that independence and that ability to be strong and, self-sufficient, those kind of things.
So it creates great strength and autonomy and the ability to withstand life's challenges. That's what I'm hearing you say. Very good. And so what might be, and so, obviously single parent families can emerge in a variety of ways through divorce, death, a parent just leaving, or, deployment. That could be a temporary single parent family. Or some people choose to have a child. Maybe they get to a certain point in their life and they do not have a partner, but they want to have a child, and they do. So sometimes these single parent families are planned. What might be some tasks in counseling that we can think, or some goals or some things that might apply to single parent families that we might want to work on?
Becoming that independent person if they're going from a marriage or a two-parent household to a one-parent household, just self-esteem, and that way they can really grow their independence and be able to rely on themselves and be the head of the home.
Mm-hmm. So that's a really great point. So encouraging that independence, providing a space for them to mourn the loss of the family unit, if that's the situation, and also maybe helping them develop skills to try to manage all of the tasks that they have to manage, because it's a lot. Great. So yeah, we kind of touched on this already. Reestablishing a structure, a mourning stage, readjustment stage, and then the renewal and accomplishment stage. And this can contain biases and focus on strengths. So as counselors, we obviously want to try to temper our own biases and judgments about these situations. Blended families come with a whole other host of issues and tasks for counseling, which can include entering the new relationship, conceptualizing and planning new marriage and family, remarrying and reconstituting family, resolving the past. So maybe those relationship issues that the two new partners bring into their current new partnership, alleviating fears and concerns about step family life, establishing or reestablishing trust, fostering a realistic attitude, and becoming emotionally and psychologically attached to others. And it sounds like here they're talking mainly about the parent unit, but if there are kids from both sides, that can be a big issue too. What are some strengths of blended families that you guys can think of? All right. Life experience, kin and quasi-kin networks. So there's a lot of people to rely on. If someone needs support, they can rely on all their extended networks. And obviously, if they can successfully blend, you are learning how to have relationships with different types of family members, step family members, etc., and making the most of situations. And then some of the counseling goals could obviously include establishing a new norm, building trust within the family unit, and creating healthy relationships. So that is kind of an overview of chapters 1 through 4, the major highlights. Do you all have any questions about these chapters or any of the concepts that we went over tonight? This is all just the basics right now. And a lot of it is common sense. In the next few chapters, we'll start moving into the different theories. We'll also talk about kind of the structure and the beginning, middle, and termination phases of therapy, and the ways in which we can be effective counselors in those situations. But I'm not going to keep you super, super late. But if anyone has anything else does anyone else have anything they want to add or any questions before we move on? No, we're good? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that my last video was saved. My computer completely froze up. So I'm going to work on posting these videos. I hope that the first video was saved. If not, I will share the second portion of the class. And I will keep working on technology so that this becomes more seamless. Thank you for your patience. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.